What is the price of a human life? How much value does a human being's medical emergency have? Because when you're on a cruise and a medical emergency occurs and the ship has to deviate, make some type of change to handle the medical emergency, exactly what is the value? How much compensation do you go down to guest services and ask for? So my question, I mean, what is the value of a human life? Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video. When you go on a cruise, you always hope that the people around you are going to be friendly, caring, at least easy to get along with. But occasionally, and you probably will never know it, there's somebody on there who honestly, they just got to be borderline evil. Just a disgusting human being who honestly cares absolutely nothing for anybody else. And today's story is about one of those types of people. Now, I'm going to play you a video clip. This is going to be of Carnival Cruise Line's brand ambassador, John Heald, telling a story about a cruise passenger who demanded compensation. Okay, compensation, wanted money because there was a medical emergency on board the ship. So let's watch the clip and we'll talk about it afterwards.
I'm finding it a little bit harder not to be, or I should say challenging, a little bit more challenging, not to be a little bit more, what's the word, Bob, when I reply to things. I had one last week, which I really had to pinch myself and make sure that I didn't say anything inappropriate. It was I'm not going to read the comment out, but it was a comment about a cruise. Long story short, the guest was complaining that they didn't receive any compensation, that they did not get anything because of what happened. Now, this was a medical emergency on board one of the ships. And in this particular case, the captain returned the ship to the home port, arriving around, I think it was around 11:30 midnight, somewhere around then. Now that of course meant that they had to close the shops and the casino early, and this caused this lady to go, I don't even know what the word is, but the demands for compensation and the demands that they weren't even able to get off the ship in Miami because customs hadn't cleared the ship, etc., at midnight or whatever time it arrived. There was absolutely no sympathy for the guests. Now, what she wanted to know was that she says she'd been on a cruise before where we had used the wonderful, incredible, courageous work of United States Coast Guard and have a helicopter rescue. Now, sometimes that's not possible. It may be due to the fact that perhaps a helicopter isn't available. That's a rare situation. But most of the time, and I know this from the many, many years that I served on board as cruise director, that the patient, the guest, isn't well enough to be put on in a basket in a stretcher and taken up to the helicopter. And sometimes that's just not possible. Sometimes it isn't. So the doctor, both the doctors on board and in consultation with US Coast Guard, will decide whether it's suitable for a helicopter rescue. So in this case, this lady is demanding compensation. She wrote to me and she wrote to a big dollop of beards. And I had to really hold myself back. And, I know you expect these videos to be silly all the time, but they're not. And in this particular case, I did write to her and say, we're not allowed to open the casino. We have to close the gift shops when we're back into Florida waters legally. And you can't get off the ship in Miami because the ship hasn't been cleared by US Customs and Border Protection. And we don't give compensation for this. And I worked it out. So it's approximately 4 to 5 hours less time that she had to use the gift shops and the casino. And I wrote back and said, is 4 or 5 hours time in the casino and spending money in the gift shop, is that too big a price to pay to save a human life? And well, she didn't like that answer very much, and she said that she's not going to cruise with us again because we didn't give compensation and because of my answer. And I do feel a little bit guilty about saying that, but do I really? I mean, do you really want to cruise with someone like that? Who, I mean, is this wrong for me to say, but do you really want to cruise with someone like that whose value of human life is based on whether she gets a couple of hours extra in the casino? I don't know. Question mark at the end of that. Was I wrong to say that? I don't know.
I really got to ask, what kind of person who claims to be a human being says the ship had a medical emergency, had to go back to port, somebody had to be taken off of the cruise ship, and now you are writing in demanding compensation because you couldn't gamble in the casino during a medical emergency? The ship had to go back to a home port. And we all know that once the ship is in the US waters, we got to close the casinos, you got to close the shops. It happens every time, right? That's not new. But I can't fathom what was going on in this person's head, in this person's mind, where they said, oh my God, this other person's medical emergency has now inconvenienced me, has stopped me from shoving dollar bills into a casino machine, that I must go down to guest services. I must write a comment in and demand compensation because I have been inconvenienced. We're not talking a ship missed a port over a medical emergency. What she lost was a few hours in the casino and some shopping in the gift shops, which will all be back opened again before the cruise is over. So, what kind of human being has that thought in their mind that what they want to do in their time in the casino is just more valuable than another person's life? And I have to agree with John on this one. Is this really the type of person we want cruising with us? Is this the type of person that you want sailing on the ship with you? I really hope that this bothered that lady so much that she is never ever going to book another cruise again. Because I'll be honest, I would not want this type of person on the ship with me. But what do you guys think? What kind of person does this? What kind of person even says this? What kind of person makes this sort of demand during a medical emergency? Is this really the type of person you want to cruise with? And that is going to be our video for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.